Happy Mercury Day, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Star Watch, which is a weekly astrological transit report for the week of August 24th. All right, everybody, let's go ahead and get into this chart for the week of August 24th, which is a Wednesday. So we have some really cool things happening. First of all, as of today, we have Uranus over here in Taurus going retrograde. We also have this new moon looming. It's going to be happening at 4 degrees of Virgo. And this will be happening on the 27th, so coming up here in just a few days. We have Venus making her way into her opposition with Saturn over in Aquarius. And Mercury is coming out of its sign of rulership, making its way into Libra and slowing way down, getting ready and preparing for his retrograde, which will happen on September 9th. So that's a couple of weeks away still. But he's still slowing down and he's coming out of rulership, which is kind of a big deal. Now, I want to start with this Uranus retrograde first, because, you know, whenever an outer planet, Pluto, Uranus, Neptune, even Saturn and Jupiter, whenever they are going direct, there seem to be more external implications, meaning it's easier for us to see changes and see the effects of things in the external world. Well, when those planets go retrograde, there tends to be a more internalized quality to them. So now we have to really acknowledge what's going on in the sky. Uranus, Chiron, Jupiter, Neptune, Saturn, and Pluto all going retrograde, which means there is this massive internalization going on right now. And holding ourselves accountable. This is a very earth sign type of thing. Now, of course, all energies can hold themselves accountable. All archetypes have that. But really with earth, because with earth, there's that hard and fast reality that we're dealing with. We're not just talking about the mental space. We're not just talking about emotions. We're not talking about our spirit or our will. We're talking about the physical experience. And when things in our physical experience are not going well, or if we're not, getting the effects or the desired results that we're hoping for, we have to go inside and we have to say, what is it with me? Now, I'm not saying that everything is your fault, and I'm not saying you should accept accountability for everything, but it's not even about who's to blame or what's at fault, period. It's not about that at all. It's about what can you change? That's what it's about. What can you change? And when this is, working with Virgo energy, both Taurus and Virgo are very work ethic oriented. So there's solution and problem solving coming through right now. How can you change your daily habits? That's huge with Virgo. What kind of daily habits can you either remove or integrate or change that will actually add or act as a platform or a foundation for you to leverage later on? For example, let's talk about health, because Virgo is huge with physical health. So let's say you're waking up in the morning and you're having a coffee that's loaded with sugar and a couple of donuts, and you're not drinking any water. Okay, I don't know. Let's just say something like that. Well, maybe you're coming to a time in your life, and I'm not saying this is right for everybody, but you're coming to a time in your life where you're saying, maybe it is time for me to be a little bit more conscious of what I eat. So instead of, the coffee and donuts in the morning, you switch it out for, some fruit and like a lemon water or something in the morning. Okay, that's a very small thing, and it doesn't impact anybody else. It only impacts you. But in the long run, perhaps that will be more beneficial for you, right? But you're not going to see the effects of it right away. That's the thing with earth signs, is you have to be patient with results. It's not something that happens immediately, or like you do something and then bam, right away, it's right in front of your face. No, it takes time. And it may even take years before you start seeing the effects of things. So there has to be an element of faith as well, which is interesting because as Mercury comes into Libra and is slowing way down, it's going to be coming into that 8th degree of Libra, which of course is in opposition with Jupiter over in Aries. So faith, and the faith that we have in ourselves and our own self-sufficiency and the faith that we have in holding ourselves accountable for things is very much at play right now. You have to have faith in yourself. You have to have faith in your own process, in the way that your own mind works, and in the way that your spirit is guiding you. Because you may not have a really good reason as to why now all of a sudden you want to change. I remember once, if I can maybe just share just a personal story, I was dating a guy once. I was in my early 20s, and he and we had kind of a long-term relationship. He was a really amazing person. But he never liked it when I did things, right? When I did things that were a little bit different. And one day I told him I was going to go to a yoga class, and he freaked out because this was something that was new, and he'd never seen me do yoga, and now I don't know, he had like a whole problem with it. But it was just one of those things, like I just decided I wanted to do something that was maybe healthier for my spirit and my mind and my body. I had no reason. It just showed up on the little like community listing flyer thing at the Arts Factory across the street of where my office was. And I just said, yeah, I want to do a yoga class. And no rhyme or reason. It just was time. That was it. It was just time. He had a big problem with it. And I think that even though there are small things that you're going to be doing, people are going to take notice. They're like, well, why are you doing this all of a sudden? Why are you like all of a sudden like coming into the office earlier? And why are you all of a sudden cleaning up? And like, what changed? And you're just, I don't know what changed. It just felt like it was time. And it felt like this is what I needed in order to get my life together to support my ultimate ambitions, to support my dreams, to support the life that I'm trying to build. And, you don't have to answer to anybody. I know that if you have a spouse or if you have children, of course, they're going to, want to be involved in that. But if it's for the best for you, then it's definitely for the best of everybody else. So having that faith and having that belief in what you're doing and not letting anyone else's like problem that they're going to have with it really impact you. Just do it anyway. Because really, what are they going to argue? Like, oh, you're taking a yoga class? Like, that's like, who's going to say that that's a dumb thing or a bad thing? No one. There's no argument against it because it's ultimately a good thing, right? So you just got to stay firm in what you know, because Virgo season is very much about self-mastery. That's why the Virgo archetype is so associated with things like criticism and judgment, because when a Virgo is not taking accountability or responsibility for themselves, of course, it's very easy for them to project it out, saying, oh, well, this person dresses like that and that's so terrible, and this person like that, and this person, ew, it's so, and they can be very, very judgy. Or through this archetype, through these energies, we can be very, very judgy, but obviously those judgments are merely reflections of what we judge within ourselves that we find inadequate. So it's about coming face to face with what we feel are our own inadequacies and rectifying them or making peace with them or loving that part of ourselves that holds on to that in order to ultimately set us free from those things. Because it is only when we are fully accepting of all of our humanness and all of our mistakes and all of the things that we do that are not entirely perfect, that is the time when we can truly become of service in the world. And of course, Virgo is huge with being of service and utilizing our talents and our skills for the benefit of everyone around us, especially the people that we love. But we can't really do that fully or wholeheartedly or with true compassion if we are continually berating ourselves for things that are not perfect, right? And I do believe that the previous Leo season, which we just came out of, and now we have Moon in Leo today and tomorrow, and then we have Venus in Leo still. I believe that the previous Leo season was so critical for us to stand in or to really like feel our sense of value, to feel like, yes, my voice is important, my energy is important, my talent, my skills, my wisdom, my experience, all of this is important and it is good. And it is something that does benefit. So with that being said, Virgo season comes behind that and follows that and says, okay, so now you really kind of see yourself actually more clearly. When you see yourself more clearly and more in truth, you're more in touch with your own divinity. And now we get to develop a platform internally, of course, but also externally, internal and external circumstances alike, to really support that, to help leverage you and prop you up so that you can now succeed. Okay, so it all works in succession. Okay, and last week I had mentioned, I think it was, I had pre-recorded last week's because I was actually at a family reunion all week last week. So I pre-recorded. So I think it was the video I published on Wednesday, but I can't be sure. It may have been the following or the previous Wednesday before that. But I had mentioned that I wanted to do a video on my YouTube that talked about why Libra season was one of the most, or if not the most powerful when it comes to manifestation. And I will do that, but right now I just want to kind of touch on that a little bit. Libra is, first of all, it's an air sign, okay? Whenever we're talking about signs, we have to take into account their element and the density with which we are operating through that element. So air is very, very low density. Air is the ruler of that heart chakra, right? We have earth with the root, water with the sacral, fire with the solar plexus, and air here, and then everything else is ether. So air is kind of like that bridging element that bridges the earthly realm with the etheric realm, and it is the least dense, aside from ether. And so when we have massive transits through air signs in general, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, things tend to, it's almost as though, I think you can envision it or visualize it this way, they tend to expand through the cosmos a lot easier. So when the sun is in an air sign, boom, like things can be really, really explosive very quickly. And because Libra is cardinal, that's all about initiation. So when we're talking about manifestation, that's all about initiating things, right? We initiate desires and we actually start building that momentum. Well, what better time to do that when you have the astrological support of a cardinal air sign, which is Libra, the only cardinal air sign. So Libra is very much at play right now as Mercury makes his way into Libra. So I want you to just watch something though. Okay, just watch. Here we have Mercury today sitting at plus 12. Okay, so it's very strong in the sky, the strongest planet that we have. It's in rulership. It's coming off of that Mercury-Neptune opposition. Did you guys have crazy dreams this past weekend? I had insane dreams. I think this was one of the reasons why. Okay, Mercury was in opposition with Neptune. Whenever Neptune comes to play, especially when Mercury is involved, dreams off the charts. So anyway, if you were having lucid dreams, that's probably why. Okay, so then as I click this clock forward, let's go to the 27th, which is around the time of that new moon. It's going to be happening, 26th, 27th, depending on where you are in the world, really, really early. Here's Mercury now, and he falls, kind of like fall from grace a little bit, from like a plus 12 all the way down to 0. Okay, so there's the Mercury energy just kind of really hits a floor. But yes, and he's also going really, really slow now, and he's coming into an opposition with Jupiter. This is when that belief becomes very important, believing in the possibility that things can happen, believing in the possibility. And I think that Mercury kind of has to give his power up to Jupiter a little bit because he knows he's not in his ideal strength right now. And there are other planets like Saturn that are much, much, much stronger. And as of Saturday, Venus coming in real hot with her opposition with Saturn. So Mercury is kind of like saying, okay, I'm preparing for my retrograde, so let me conserve energy. So we kind of move from this, go, 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 go kind of thing. And then we kind of are going to take a couple of days as Mercury comes station. We're going to take a couple of days to maybe like about a week, maybe to just kind of project out into the world and say, I believe this is possible for me, and I believe that I can, and I believe that all of these changes that I am making are ultimately going to be in my best interest and will have positive effects, and that they will aid me in my long-term goals. Now, you are going to probably be very stuck in just like regular life at this point, just waking up, doing the breakfast, going to work, meetings, phone calls, whatever you normally do, it's all just going to be perfectly normal. But inside Uranus retrograde, there's something brewing, and it's saying like something big, like you're ready for something pretty epic in your life, for some sort of epic change in your life. And keep going, keep going, keep going. And it may feel a little bit like this, like you're kind of butting heads with yourself, because on one hand, you want to just like, kind of completely tear the old structure apart. But on the other hand, you need it because it's what is needed in order to help bridge the gap between where you are and where you ultimately want to be. Remember, Virgo is about slow integration. So we're slowly integrating and pulling in new ideas, new concepts, new things, and just building. It doesn't have to be this huge thing, it doesn't have to be doing it all at once. It's not like, if you're lucky to win the lottery, great, but I don't think that there are going to be that many people that are out there winning the lottery right now. It's just more about one day at a time, one thing at a time. And you may notice that your mind is actually very clear, especially with Mars and Gemini. Because when Mercury does enter into Libra, he's officially coming into a trine with Mars. So yes, he's under the influence of Jupiter over here in Aries and the influence of Mars. And I think he likes the Mars energy a little bit more because it's more active. So when you integrate belief and action together, I actually think your mind becomes more of a conduit, more of a channel for inspired solutions. So if you are facing a problem, like if you can't find a job, or if you can't find that house that you really want, or if there's a relational issue, and there may be some relational issues as Venus comes into that opposition with Saturn. There could also be financial issues as she comes into that opposition with Saturn. She may create difficulty with communication, looming Mercury retrograde. She may create difficulty with relating. And I think I had mentioned this in... All my readings are just starting to blend together. I have no idea when I mentioned this, but at one point I mentioned that if you need to like take distance from somebody, just take distance. And if you're having trouble bridging the gap between you and someone else, it's fine. Like if you're really strong and you have faith in your relationship, like if you're married, just take time, take space, do your own independent thing for, a little while. And when the time is right, when Venus comes off of Saturn later on in the week, I think she'll be, you'll be able to kind of reconvene a little bit better. But if you need the distance, or if you need to be a little bit more stringent, meaning not spending money, if you need to be a little bit more careful or cautious for a couple days, that's obviously going to be perfectly fine. Not doing things externally will actually open your mind internally so that you are going to be in a more receptive mode. Relationships are going to be a big point of focus because this Mercury retrograde is happening in Libra. So the fact that Venus is coming into an opposition with Saturn just a few days before, like a week and a half before, actually maybe like more like 2 weeks before Mercury officially goes retrograde, says that maybe things that are happening right now may need to be revisited once Mercury goes retrograde. So that's why it's like, just be cool with stuff, and you don't have to be naggy. And if someone tries to nag you, just, it's just, there's agitation and people are wanting to control things a little bit right now, because if they're not internalizing this Uranian energy and this Virgo energy, if it's not internalized and we're not taking accountability for stuff and we're not in that self-mastery mode, it's all going to be projected out. Boom, just like that. right? Because it's uncomfortable. So we take it out on everybody else, and we start pointing fingers, and we start blaming people, and we start saying, well, you're the problem, instead of saying, well, how am I the problem? Or how can I contribute to a solution, which would be a better approach. And if not everyone is on that page, or not everyone is operating like that, yeah, it is likely for us to butt heads a little bit. Especially if you're doing things like changing up the score a little bit. Like I say, like going to yoga class randomly and your partner has a problem with it. If you're changing up the score and this person doesn't understand, and you're not offering a good enough reason, then it can also be somewhat problematic too, even though there's no reason for them to have a problem. Well, I have a problem with a yoga class. I don't know, right? It makes no sense. But it's different, and people don't like different, and people really don't like different with Taurus energy. But see, destiny, which is a North Node point, destiny is hard sometimes, right? There is no like easy destiny. There is no easy ultimate location for us to end up at, right? There are always obstacles along the road, right? No matter where we're going, that road is going to have to go over a mountain or two. So I don't know. Some people think that the ride to destiny is supposed to be easy. It's not. So you just have to stand firm in what you know to be good and right for you, and just make sure that your habits and your daily interactions and your daily musings are healthy and good for what it is you're trying to build. Plain and simple. We'll definitely talk more and more about this Mercury retrograde. Actually, let me check something really quick. Okay, yeah, we'll definitely talk more about this Mercury retrograde in the upcoming week. For now, though, as of the next couple of days, use this Virgo new moon. I would say use it to be honest with yourself. New moons are notoriously good for manifestation. What's the word we use, right? For initiating new things. It's the beginning of a creative cycle. So if there are projects that you're hoping to get going or to get started, now would be a really good time to do that. But it's not as much as the doing is an important part of that. And I'm not taking anything away from the doing, but it's more about the mindset. It's more about the attitude that you have going into it. Maybe you've been putting something off because it wasn't perfect. You've been putting something off because it wasn't the perfect fit, or it didn't fulfill your idea of the perfect solution. But I think as you make your way through the imperfect, you will notice just how perfect it actually is through its imperfection, if that makes any sense at all. So I'm trying to see what else. Let's talk a little bit more just before I go. This Venus-Saturn opposition, which is happening officially. Officially on the 28th. So Sunday, that's officially happening. So you'll probably start feeling that building right now. So yes, financially, this could be a thing. In terms of relationships, this could definitely be a thing. Different ideas, different values. You may notice that you and your partner have different values. You may notice you're putting off certain purchases or buying certain things until later. Maybe you are waiting until things are a bit more secure before you splurge on that thing. I think maybe being more conservative financially is probably quite prudent. It won't last that long. It won't be that big a deal. Hopefully none of you are incurring any kind of a loss, because technically speaking, this is in the Mars or the Aries decan of Leo. So when Mars comes in, there could be some kind of more severe thing. Hopefully there are no big financial losses. But actually, for many of you, it's probably an aggressive desire for more money. More than anything, an aggressive desire for you to go out and get more material reward. Now, not everyone is always motivated by money, but while we have the North Node in Taurus, we are focused more on our financial well-being, on our material well-being, on our lifestyle, on the things that make life pleasant and joyful and fulfilling and satisfying on the more sensory components of life. So if there is any scarcity, if there is any situation in your life that is just not suitable, this is probably going to be a time when you do get fed up enough. And I think I've said that multiple times with this Uranus North Node thing in Taurus, like enough is enough is enough. And when we've reached that point of something being enough, then we have to do something about it. And you know, Virgo season is all about doing something about it. It's about identifying a problem and fixing it. I would say that Virgo and Pisces are really good at like the fixing energy, to go out and fix it. Because you're not just going to be okay with it being not okay. You know, like you got to do something about it. So now's the time. Take advantage of Virgo season. If we can lean into the effects of the seasons, if we can lean into the archetypes, we can synchronize with the earth. And when we are synchronized with the earth, things flow so much better. And I'm going to keep my eyes on Sagittarius season too. We've got a few months to go. Obviously, we've got September, October, and November, and on into December, which is when Sagittarius season is. Because as I said, that fire sign trajectory, we start with Aries because it's the first season of the zodiac. First season of the zodiac, we have, or of the astrological year rather, we take Aries, we draw that trajectory to Leo, the next fire sign, then down on into Sagittarius, which is the third fire sign. And it's with these where major mile markers are truly, truly set. And the time in between is kind of building up to that next one. So between Leo season and Sagittarius season, we're just building upon what we've already set forth with Aries season. Leo season was about taking it up a notch in terms of believing that we can have more and believing that we can succeed more and believing that we're worth it. And once we have that inner tone, right, that inner frequency going on, then we are inspired to work really hard, Virgo, and we're inspired to bring in others and to collaborate with others, and we're inspired to tear down the things that don't work in order to set us free and prepare us for that big expansion in Sagittarius season. Okay, so keep your eyes on that Sagittarius goal, and then from Sag, we'll make our way back to Aries again, and we'll kind of notice the kind of deflationary qualities that are necessary for the next set of goals. Okay? All right, so I'm going to leave you guys with that. Thank you so much for being here. You guys know how much I love and appreciate you. Have an amazing week, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care.